Hello and welcome to the Chronicle Reports. I am your host, Chronicle. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most significant and complex geopolitical standoffs of the 21st century. Imagine two Africa, as oldest and most populous giants, nations with histories stretching back to the dawn of civilization, now locked in a tense struggle over the world's longest river. We are talking about the Arab Republic of Egypt and the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. At the heart of this dispute is a mammoth structure of concrete and ambition, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Or, Geared, is this a project for progress, or is it a flashpoint for Africa's first major resource war? Today, we analyze the facts, the history, and arguments behind this brewing conflict. This is contemporary history in the making. Let's explore. To understand the present, we must look at the geography. Egypt and Ethiopia are remarkably similar in size and population. Ethiopia is the second most populous country in Africa, with 120 million inhabitants, while Egypt follows closely as the third most populous, with 110 million. However, their economic realities tell a different story. In 2021, Egypt's per capita GDP was roughly $3,700, while Ethiopia's stood at just $925. Despite these differences, both nations are joined by a single, life-giving artery, the Nile River, stretching 6,700 kilometers. It is arguably the longest river on Earth. It has two main tributaries, the White Nile, which begins in the Great Lakes region, and the Blue Nile, which begins in the highlands of Ethiopia. Let's break down the fundamental arguments from both sides. For Egypt, the Nile is not just a river. It is survival. It provides nearly 98% of the country as drinking water and almost all the water needed for its agriculture. For Ethiopia, the Blue Nile is a path out of poverty. With nearly half its population lacking electricity, the government sees the river as a massive source of hydroelectric power. Now, let's analyze the historical and cultural roots of this argument. While these two nations established diplomatic relations in 1927 and were founding members of the United Nations in 1945, their relationship has been fraught with tension. Historically, Egypt has maintained a protective, almost existential stance over the Nile. This is rooted in the ancient links between the people and the water. In the 1970s, Egypt threatened war if Ethiopia attempted to dam the river. Even in the new millennium, recordings of former leader Hosni Mubarak suggested Egypt might go as far as to bomb any new dam. Let's look at the language used in this conflict. Egypt's foreign minister recently described the Nile as the artery that gives them life. This isn't just political rhetoric. It is a linguistic reflection of a deep-seated cultural belief that the Nile is the soul of the Egyptian state. Any disruption is viewed as an existential threat. On the other side, Ethiopia views the dam as a symbol of its growing ambitions and a way to lift tens of millions of people out of poverty. To Ethiopia, the argument is about sovereignty and development. So, what changed? For decades, Ethiopia held off on its plans, fearing Egyptian reprisals. But in 2011, the world watched as the Arab Spring swept through Egypt, forcing Mubarak from power. Seeing a window of opportunity, Ethiopia pressed ahead with the construction of the GERD, located just 30 kilometers from the border with Sudan. This $4.5 billion project stands 150 meters high. When finished, it will be the largest hydropower project in Africa and one of the largest in the world. Since construction began, tensions have ebbed and flowed. In 2015, there was a glimmer of hope with a declaration of principles. And in 2018, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi met in Cairo, suggesting an amicable path forward, but the breakthrough was short-lived. By 2019, the relationship had collapsed again. What are they actually arguing about? It comes down to two main points. One, water release during droughts. How much water will Ethiopia release if a severe drought occurs? 2. Arbitration. How will future disagreements be handled? Reports suggest Ethiopia rejects the principle of binding arbitration. Here's the deeper analysis. Egypt argues that the project must consider the legitimate interests of downstream countries. Ethiopia argues that it will never hurt the people of Egypt and that the dam is a right of development. The reason behind Ethiopia's firm stance is its domestic demand for energy. The influence on the leadership in Addis Ababa is the pressure of a rapidly growing population and economy that cannot function without electricity. Conversely, the influence on Cairo's leadership is the historical weight of being a gift of the Nile, a state that cannot survive without a guaranteed flow of water. Is there a way out? Computer modeling suggests there is an optimal outcome that satisfies all three countries, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan. But as the dam continues to fill and nears full operation in 2024, the window for a diplomatic deal is narrowing. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam remains one of Africa's most serious potential flashpoints. Whether it becomes a source of regional cooperation or a catalyst for conflict remains to be seen. This has been a report by the Chronicle Reports. If you found this analysis educational and engaging, be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the stories shaping our world. I'm Chronicle. Thank you for watching. See you in the next report.